Hello, everybody, and welcome to Books Unbound, the podcast where we unbind books to get to their hearts with your hosts, us. It's Ariel and
Railen.
Wow. That was almost Mockingjay-esque.
Oh, funny that you say that. I went and saw the new Hunger Games movie yesterday.
And what did you think?
Ooh, well, to start off the discussion, I mean, I didn't like the book, so
Okay,
I was bound
yes.
to not really like the movie just because I don't like the
Yep.
story. And
Yep.
that's pretty much how I felt.
Yeah.
But I
I'm
will
glad
say
we're starting
that
off with such a negative tone for this episode.
there's also a lot of singing in the movie, which I knew was going to happen. And I don't really like that it was there because I feel like it's annoying. But I do think that, what's her face, Rachel Zegler, I don't know if that's her name. She did an amazing job. Like she has an amazing voice. I wasn't expecting it. So I was like, okay, I could just like listen to her sing all day long. Like,
That's very interesting. The only thing I know about Rachel Zegler, because the other big thing from her is West Side Story, right? Which I didn't see. Yeah, the only thing I know about her is her crazy interview she's done for Snow White, where she's just like so mean. And
I know. I was like, I had that in the back of my head while watching it, and I was like, you know what? I think she's okay. Like she wasn't. Yeah. I didn't like dislike her. I didn't like her extraordinarily much on screen, but she had a great voice. So.
That's really interesting because, on the other hand, one of my close friends says that this is her favorite Hunger Games book and her favorite Hunger Games movie.
That is
so
fascinating.
Clearly, some people are loving it. Yeah. Maybe someone listening, it's their new favorite thing. And we love you just the same.
I just don't care about President Snow that much, you know? Like, I just don't care about his story that much. If you care about his story, then this obviously would be a great, great movie. But anyway. That's what I did yesterday.
We're doing an audio only episode today because I texted Railen this morning and I said, I do not wish to be perceived today. How would you feel if we only did audio? And I got a response that was basically the equivalent of wahoo!
You know, I also don't want to be perceived today. I actually didn't really want to be perceived last week, but that's okay.
Yeah. It's tricky. So we love doing the video episodes, but we do also love sprinkling in just a couple of audio only episodes when it makes sense for us. It's also like, I think a huge part of the reason that I just felt icky today was because it's raining. Like, it's really raining. It's like a really gray and stormy day. And I'm like, I need to be cozy, not camera ready.
Yeah, I like that. I'm feeling cozy too. Got my coffee.
Yeah, we're feeling cozy. You got coffee?
Yep. Yeah, baby, I got coffee. It's cold now,
though. I might do a second coffee. You know what? After this podcast, I'm kind of thinking
day. A cozy
I might be doing
day.
A second coffee. Yeah.
I kind of want to talk in my cozy voice. Welcome to Books Unbound.
I won't say no to that. Okay, so we're doing a bit of a classic ep today, the old update episode. Yeah.
With the book news. It's been a while since we've had some news, so I'm excited.
And we've got some juicy news.
Ooh.
Let me tell you. Some things that I didn't know had happened have happened. Some things that I did know had happened and I wrote really stupid headlines for. So
I can't wait.
I'm excited to get to that section. Before we jump into these juicy reading updates that I know you're all so ready for, we have some fun news for you guys. We have our end of the year reading survey.
Oh my gosh.
It's survey time. We know you like to do the survey, and God knows I like to make the survey.
It's a good time for all.
Yeah, we love looking at the end results of the survey. But what's shocking, scary, crazy, shocking is that this episode comes out in December.
No.
Yeah, like we're recording on November 27th, but we're only a few days away from December, and then it comes out on December 4th. So when you're listening to this, it's the last few weeks of the year. And that means that we're starting to shift into preparing for our final episodes of the year. Mm-hmm. And one of those is always doing a community reading stats breakdown. So basically, if you fill out the survey, it's going to ask you a lot of fun questions about your reading. We're going to ask you about how many books did you read this year? What was your favorite genre this year? What was your standout book? Stuff like that. Here's the truth. I haven't made it yet. Mainly I'll just copy it from last year because we've now done it 2 years in a row, and like keeping the questions the same I think is good because we can see how things change.
Totally.
But I'll throw in some fun bonus questions for the year because I enjoy that. So if you want to check that out, it's linked below. You only have a couple of weeks to fill it out. I think you have 3 weeks to fill it out. We're gonna call Christmas. Christmas is the deadline. Yep. Christmas is the deadline. So you have till Christmas to fill it out. And then we'll go over all the results. So that'll be a good time. Last year we had like thousands of people do it.
Yeah, it's so much fun and like overwhelming in a good way. Like, wow.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's so good. So please do fill that out if you're intrigued and you'd like to share your reading with us. But now we'll talk to you about our current reading. So Railen, should we start with what we've read, what we're reading, or what we've bought?
Yeah, let's just dive into like what we're reading because I don't have like the most amazing update, but I will go into it. Like I haven't finished anything. So last week I was reading the Samantha Shannon book, which I promptly put on pause after we stopped recording that episode.
No way, really?
I was just feeling not in the mood for it at that exact moment. So I was like, I want to read something else. I want to read something a little more, like something shorter maybe and something like kind of fast paced. And so I decided to pick up Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk. Because a lot of people...
Still one of the best titles.
Yeah, I know.
One of the best titles of all time.
A lot of people have recommended this to me, like in our Discord and just everywhere. And I've been told by a lot of people as well that it was a good like fall read. And so I was very excited for it. Spoiler alert, I DNF'd this book. But I wanted to talk about it because...
Should I name this episode Grumpy Railen is Back? Watches
grumpy.
a movie, hates it, reads a book, hates it. I guess you're right. You're now cozy. Old Railen, though, was grumpy.
Yes,
I'm cozy Railen.
Today. And I could have just not talked about this, but I wanted to share it with the people because I do feel like this is a book that a lot of people will love. It just wasn't for me. So basically this book is about an older woman. I don't know exactly how old, but her hair is white and she has ailments, as she says. She calls them her ailments. And she's just kind of, an older lady. And she lives out kind of in the middle of nowhere, like in the forest. She has like only a couple of neighbors. And at the very beginning of the book, one of her neighbors dies. And so her and her other neighbor go and like are trying to deal with it because they're far enough away that like they're trying to call the police, but it's like not calling the right police line. It's calling like the Czech police line instead of the Polish one because they're really close to the border or something. And it's like, this is just crazy. So at the beginning, they're like, well, what do we do? And so they decide to like kind of clean him up and like make him more presentable. So when people show up, he won't be embarrassed, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a weird beginning, but yeah, so that's how it starts out. And I believe it to be kind of a murder mystery book. And like, I think there might be more murders that happen throughout the book. So that is kind of like the backbone of the plot. But it is very very slow. And like the writing style just did not work for me. Like I found it took me about 10 minutes to read a single page. And so like it got to the point, like I read, I think about 70 pages and I was like, I just cannot anymore. But I do think people will like this because the main character is an interesting lady. Like she really loves nature and animals. Like she's an advocate for animals. And so one of her neighbors is like a poacher. And so she's constantly like, no, you need to stop. And she's like calling the police on him and like trying to make that whole thing stop. And so she kind of feels like a fairy tale witch living out in the woods a little bit. But it's not magical. At least it never got magical where I was. But that's kind of the vibe of the book. It kind of gives off like a fairy tale vibe. So if that sounds appealing to anyone, I think you should definitely check it out because it is a cool little book. I found it to be way too slow. The way it was written for me just didn't work, but cool.
I can see why people thought you would like it.
Yeah,
it does seem to hit paper, a bunch of your things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was just the writing style. It's kind of stream of consciousness, I guess, is one way to put it. And so there's just a lot of like, okay, I don't really need to be hearing all of this. Like, get to the action is kind of my vibe. I'm more of an action person. Give me the plot. But it was another funny thing that I liked about the main characters. She calls everybody by just names she's made up because she decides that like she's like, I don't think most people's names suit them. So she's like, I'll just give them whatever name I think suits them. And she even feels that for herself. She's like, I don't think my name suits me. I feel like people should just call me whatever they want to call me. And she's quirky. Like I really like that about her. She's a strange little lady. But anyway, so that's what I didn't read.
Gotcha.
But then I'll just tell you what I'm reading right now too, and then then it's your turn. So I decided to pick up In Cold Blood by Truman Capote.
Whoa.
Yes. So this one, I was supposed to read it in October because my friends and I decided to do it for a little book club. It was actually my pick. I wanted it to be like our October pick, but we're a really bad book club and we don't schedule meetings, so we don't really have a good timeline. So I decided to finally pick it up so we could have our meeting, which we scheduled for next week. So I actually have to read the book. But I am, like 70 something pages into it now, and it's so good. It's so good.
Fantastic.
I'm really loving it. So for those who don't know, In Cold Blood is a classic true crime book. It came out in, I want to say the 50s or 60s. I can't remember, but it's like the classic true crime book, but it's written like a novel. So it's often been confused, like, is it a novel or is it true crime? But it's a true crime novel. So it's written in such a way that like there's foreshadowing, but it doesn't like, like it kind of is suspenseful, even though it's true and people probably know what happened. But it's essentially a murder of a family. There was 4 family members who were shot and nobody knows why, like who did it or why they did it. But the interesting thing about the book too is that you get to see the perspective of the people who did it, kind of. But I still don't know exactly why they did it, but we saw them like preparing to do it and like getting masks so that like, they could break into this house. And I'm like, okay, but why? Like, what's the motto? The motto? That's the wrong word. Why are they doing it? Why are they doing it? So yeah, it's really good so far, and it feels good to be reading like a good classic, because it is a classic, even though it's not like fiction literature. But
what's the word we're thinking of? It's not motto.
Yes, yeah, I'm just moving on because I can't remember. But what is it?
Motive.
Thank you. What's the motto? Yeah.
What's your motto?
I was like, that is so wrong. So close, but so far. You can't see me because I'm not on camera, but I'm just wringing my hands, head in my hands. Oh, yeah. Thank you for getting me there.
That's really funny. I am looking at In Cold Blood because I honestly haven't heard of In Cold Blood, but I've obviously heard of Truman Capote, and I'm like, what's going on here? And so I looked at Truman Capote and it says like he wrote Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I'm like, right, those are two such different books. Like, that's weird. But then I'm looking at In Cold Blood, and it says it took him 6 years to write the book.
Oh wow.
And that he was accompanied by his childhood friend and fellow author Harper Lee.
Yeah, I was going to say he dedicated the book to her.
Wow.
And Jack
they interviewed
Dumpy, whoever that is.
They interviewed residents and investigators assigned to the case and took thousands of pages of notes. Yeah. So it sounds like Harper was like there.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize she was part of it.
That's so interesting.
It's very cool.
Wow. Oh, it says he brought his childhood friend, Harper Lee, to help gain the confidence of the locals in Kansas.
Very good.
Hot damn.
Very cool. Yeah. So, I'm excited about
all right. Well, I did finish a book. I finished Letters to a Young Poet. Rainer Maria Rilke was born in 1875 in Prague and is considered an important writer in the German language. He lived in Europe throughout his life, including Paris, Switzerland, parts of Germany, and stretches in Italy. He was a poet and finished one novel, but is now most famous for Letters to a Young Poet, which was a correspondence between him and an aspiring artist, Franz Xavier Capus. So, Railen, buddy old pal, this is good in lots of different ways. Okay. Number one, I've read another classic.
Ooh.
So that's cool.
Wait, what are you up to now? Do you know?
8 out of 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to talk about this more in a second. Number 2, it's another letters collection, my new favorite genre.
I love that.
I'm all about letters now, baby. So just personally, this book hit some nice little milestones that I've been wanting to do. But I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. And I almost kind of just enjoyed it most of all as an anthropological moment. Just like, I think that's a big part of what I like about reading letters. People are being very candid.
Yeah.
They're not really usually being that flowery. And if they are being flowery, it's in a way to like try so desperately to convey their feeling.
Yeah.
But it's not because they're just like putting in superfluous words in a letter. You don't really fill up a letter with fluff.
That's true.
Usually. So people are being really candid and expressive, and they're being really to the point. And this collection felt like a manifesto. Like it starts when this guy, I don't know if it's pronounced Capus or Capus, I'm not sure. But he sends a letter. Whoa, you know what, CJ? Keep that in. Wow. That was powerful stuff. Capus sends a letter to Rilke, and he asks, could you give me some critiques on these poems I've written? Because I don't feel like they're very good, and I would love for you to like help me know how to make them better. And just generally, I'm like trying to be an artist, and I'm wondering if you've got any tips or ideas. And then Rilke responds and says like, stop asking for help.
Oh man.
But in a really polite, friendly way. He basically is saying, like, I can't help you. The only person that can help you is you. And I think a big part of your problem is that you're trying to seek advice from other people. You should be just writing a lot and critiquing yourself. And only you can know what kind of art you should be making, that kind of thing. And then they have this correspondence over a few years. Let me make sure here. The first letter is from 1903, and then the last letter is from 1908. But they're pretty sporadic. There's only 10 letters, so they weren't like in constant contact or anything. And all of the letters are in this tone of like a mentor and a mentee. So you have this person asking for help and this person giving advice. I liked it a lot because, I mean, I underlined a lot of really great lines and stuff. I thought there were some really beautiful passages, and there were also some really interesting moments. And this is one of my favorite things when I'm reading classic books, how it makes you feel like humans are just humans, and like it's been 200 years, 500 years, 100 years, and we're still dealing with the same problems. I find that so beautiful and very grounding, I guess. But yeah, like there's this one part where he's talking about how difficult it is as you become an adult, how difficult it is to change your relationship with your parents. And how, like, you no longer want to be treated like a child, but you are their child. And so you have to be gentle. And I underlined here, like, be happy about your growth, in which, of course, you can't take anyone with you. And be gentle with those who stay behind. And I was like, oh, that's such a beautiful way to put it. And he goes on, when you see them, love them in a form that is not your own, and be indulgent towards those who are growing old, who are afraid of the aloneness that you trust. Avoid providing material for the drama that is always stretched tight between parents and children. It uses up much of the children's strength and wastes the love of the elders, which acts and warms even if it doesn't comprehend. And the final little part that I underlined here is, believe in a love that is being stored up for you like an inheritance, and have faith that in this love there is a strength and a blessing so large that you can travel as far as you wish without having to step outside of it. That's so beautiful, this idea that your parents love you and they can only love you in this one way. That's the way that they know to love you, and you're growing and you're changing and you have different goals and different things that you want, but that doesn't mean like throw away that whole thing. So I was reading that and I'm like, God, that's so interesting, because actually a topic that I talk about a lot with my dad is how strange it is that I'm just a full-blown adult and he's now an adult. Like, we're all adults. Yeah. My dad's parents both passed away before he was 20. So he never has been an older, he's never been an adult with adult parents. Right. And so he's like, I don't know what this is. I'm just trying my best. And I'm like, we're going to figure it out. And so it's like a topic that's kind of a thing. And you know how close my family is. And my brother, who edits the pod, beautiful CJ, he moved to Halifax. And we're all like, wow, what the hell do we do about that? Oh God. So we're all like dealing with these things. And here is these letters from 130 years ago or whatever. And they're dealing with the same kind of thing. Totally. And I love that. So I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't love it though. And I think it was just because like the letters weren't for me. They were for Capus. Do you know what I mean? Like
he's trying to help Capus, a young poet.
He's trying to help Capus out. It's not about Ariel. And while I did find some of the concepts applicable to my own life, and it was like a lovely rallying cry of like what it means to be an artist and why you should be an artist. Like I enjoyed some of those passages, but I also, I just didn't like fully connect with it. But I am really glad I read it. The final thing I want to say about it, really, is that I feel cheated. And I feel sad and furious.
Okay, that's a lot of emotions for one person to feel.
Because the only real, I was going to say insult. It's not an insult. The critique that I have of the book is that, yet again, it would have been so much better if the actual correspondence was here. These are only Rilke's letters. Yeah, they're only Rilke's letters. And what's funny is that old Capus, his main thing that he ended up doing, like he didn't really become a great artist, which was, I guess, the whole point of being mentored. His main thing was publishing these 10 letters he got from an even more famous guy. Like, imagine if that's your contribution. Like, you're like, by the way, I talked to Stephen King a bunch of times, and here's what he said. But we all love Stephen King so much, so we read them.
Totally.
It's like, you just happen to be a weird character in that story. So, anyways, I wish I could have read Capus's letters, because I wish I could have known exactly what he says. All of the stuff that I kind of know is from his perspective is just because Rilke is kind of repeating it. Rilke will be like, you asked me about your poem. And so I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So he asked something about a poem. I wish that we had them. Well, I found out that in 2020, they found his letters and they've now published versions with both. Gee. So I actually do think I'm going to be on the lookout for that, and maybe just pick it up, because I think I could just read his letters and then skim the Rilke letters and
that would be
get a fuller
nice.
Picture.
That'd be nice.
How dare they?
That sucks. I feel like that shouldn't even be allowed. Like we don't want just half the story. It's like getting half of a book.
I know. I don't get it at all. But okay, so that's what I read, and I haven't really, well, actually, I've read a lot more, or listened to a lot more of the Stephen King book that I was reading. It's so good. Yeah, I got so emotional. Like, I literally had tears in my eyes while I'm barreling down the highway. I had tears in my eyes but not enough to obscure my vision and make it dangerous. Really, I'm just hemming it up for the podcast, but I did feel very choked up when he talked about when they got the $400,000 payment for Carrie. Like when he finds out that he sold his first novel for an insane amount of money, and it's going to completely change their lives. I like literally was like choking up. Oh God, it was so beautiful. So I'm really enjoying that. I think I'm only like halfway through it though, so I'm probably going to be chugging along with it for a while.
Does Steven read the audiobook for that one?
Oh, he does.
Okay, good.
Old Steven does, and he's so funny. He does like little accents. He'll like yell things sometimes. It's like very dynamic.
I love that. Go Steven, go.
I know. So I'm not really reading anything else, but that does bring me to my next topic. I'm actually in the midst of filming a reading vlog for our patrons, which will be going out in the next few days for our patrons. And in that vlog, I talk about how we're in the end games. We're in the end times. There's only a few weeks left before the end of this whole thing.
This is true.
And two of the goals I still have that I still think I could accomplish, but I probably not both of them, are reading classics and reading biographies.
That's true. You've got specific reading goals.
Exactly. So I have 4 classics left to read, and I have 3 biographies left to read.
Ooh.
So I have on my shelves looked at some classics, and I've chosen a couple here that I just thought I'd mention as things that I've put on my docket.
Okay.
The Call of the Wild by Jack London. Have you read this one?
No, but it's one that I would like to read, and I'm curious to see how you feel. So I hope you read it so that you can let me know.
I think that this is actually kind of top of mind because it's been on my list for years and years. It seems fun and pretty easy because it's kind of a children's classic at this point, right? And it's winter. Like the book is set in the north and stuff. So I'm like, that would be kind of perfect for right now. Franny and Zoe by J.D. Salinger.
You gotta read
this. Is such a short little book. It's 170 pages. This is a classic I've been meaning to read for as long as I can remember, and it would be perfect for this. And then the third one is A Christmas Carol.
Have you not read that? We've probably talked about this 100 times, but yeah, that's funny.
I haven't, by Charles Dickens, obviously. And no, I haven't read it, and it feels like one of the dumbest gaps in my...
And that's very readable. Like, I read that in grade 6 for school. Like, it's another one that, like, you can read.
Encourages me.
Kind of a kids can read it very easily, so.
Yeah, so these are 3 classics that I've pulled down from my shelf to kind of hover around me. I feel like I could transition into one of these, but I'm excited basically to talk to you again next week because the last few weeks have been so busy with work for me. I have, as people may have seen on my YouTube channel, and Railen knows because I texted her, but I thought I was going to paint my bathroom. And so I removed the mirror and in doing so discovered a secret room behind my sink. Somehow that's real life.
That sounds
crazy.
Insane, what you just said.
It sounds crazy.
A secret room behind your sink.
It's so dumb. And so because of that, instead of like painting, I spent days ripping down this wall and making a whole different kind of video. And so that was a whole thing. And now I'm in the middle of filming another video. And so it's just been a very busy time, which is great, but I haven't had a lot of time for reading. But this week I have to post a video for work, and then I'm like free. I like get pretty freed back up, like back to kind of my normal routine. So I should be able to read a bit more. So we'll see. I'm excited to talk to you next week and see what I've gotten done.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, let's transition into our little book haul moment.
Yeah.
I only have one book, but when I tell you that this is mayhaps the most exciting book I've ever purchased.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what? Wait. This is hype. I was just going to be casually like, yeah, continue.
I spent extra money to get a nice copy from England.
Okay.
It is George Orwell, A Life in Letters.
I just saw the word letters on the cover. That's why I got so excited. No
Look
way.
Look how pretty this thing is, Railen.
Dude.
Isn't that so stunning?
That is so sick.
I'm obsessed. I'm utterly obsessed. It's such a pretty book. They did a really... Oh, I hadn't looked at the under the dust jacket. Oh, yeah. It's got like a nice little... I like when they do a little detail. Oh boy, am I excited. So I was looking at like collections of letters, trying to find what might be next for old Ariel.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, could we have kept Orwell's letters? No. And then I found this, and it says, in the dust jacket, it says, appearing for the first time in one volume, these trenchant letters tell the eloquent narrative of Orwell's life in his own words. Woohoo! From his school days to his tragic early death, Orwell, who never wrote an autobiography, chronicled the dramatic events of his turbulent life in a profusion of powerful letters. Indeed, one of the 20th century's most revered icons was a lively, prolific correspondent who developed in rich, nuanced dispatches the ideas that would influence generations of writers and intellectuals. We have his letters. Obviously not all of the letters, and I don't know how it's set up. I really don't. I just got so excited. I was like, I can't believe it. I don't know how it's organized. What does it say? A Life in Letters. Oh, okay. It's organized in kind of different periods. So section 1 is 1911 to 1933, from pupil to teacher to author. Then from 34 to 38, publishing, Wigan and Spain. 38 to 49, Morocco and the BBC.
Okay, so I have a crazy thing to say. If you read that book, would it not count as a biography, kind of?
And would it not count as a classic as well?
Exactly. because it is Orwell's writing. He's a classic author,
with one
but it's
stone.
also all about him in a way.
There's also some editorializing here, like, you know, it's got little sections written by the editor, explaining exactly what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Selected and annotated by Peter Davison. So I think that adds to the idea that this kind of is a type of biography.
Yeah, like it's just an alternative biography.
Whoa. I like your thinking, Railen. I like your
But
thinking.
I mean, that still begs the issue that the other biographies you have are way long. And that one looks longish too, even though it's letters, it's still like a big-ish book.
It's pretty long, actually. Yeah, it's, okay, well, there's a big part of it that's a index.
You know, I love that.
I do love that, but it is still it's like 490 pages. And it's a tall book, so it's like a lot.
You know what I think? I think at this point your goal could be altered to just read one biography. Because I think that's the ultimate goal. I thought about that with my fantasy thing. I don't think I'm going to hit my goal. But I think I'm glad that I read a couple. Like, I'm glad that I didn't read 0 fantasy books. You know what I mean? So I feel like even though I'm probably not going to succeed 100%, I think I ultimately did succeed in what I actually wanted to do, which was just read a couple of fantasy books.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
These are the big questions of our time.
What counts? What doesn't count? What matters?
But what even matters, man?
Yeah.
I'm excited, though, because I have a little stack on a table now in my office of like books that are collections of letters.
Oh, I love that.
And it's like become a section. So I'm going to have to carve out a part in my bookshelves to be the letters section. Pretty exciting.
That's a good idea. Well,
all right. What about you?
Yeah, I got a couple of books. So
cool.
The other day I went to the thrift store and I found a couple of books. I found a couple of books for other people for Christmas, which was really exciting. But I also found a couple of books for myself, which was very lucky. I wasn't expecting to find either of these. And these aren't books that I was necessarily like looking for, but I'm very happy to have them. So you'll see.
Yeah.
I got A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess.
You've read that, right?
No. Isn't that crazy?
What am I thinking of?
I don't know, man.
Oh, what's the other one? Cuckoo.
Yeah.
Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I do feel like they could be cousins or something. Like they're...
Right? They feel like cousins. Is it just because it's the hard C sound? Clockwork and cuckoo?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's probably all it is. Because I feel like plot-wise they're not very similar.
That's a thing, a cuckoo clock.
Cuckoo clock. An orange cuckoo clock that we fly over. That's so awesome. So, no, yeah, not that book, but this one. I've never read this, and I've only seen a little bit of the movie.
Breaking news. I haven't read that either. And it's a short classic. Hey. We could buddy read that before the end of the year. It would help my classics goal. It would help your goal of reading the books you buy.
That's hilarious. That's actually a really funny idea. And I feel like it could be a rollicking good time, potentially. Like, it seems like it's one of those like wacky books that has like its own language kind of made up within it. Like, there's lots of slang that's been like created for it. And then we can watch the movie. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I have the same edition as you, so
that's fun.
Demarcating pages would be easy.
That is a very, very fun idea. I like the way you're thinking. But let me also, I mean, you might even say something similar for the next book I'm gonna show.
Oh,
I also got The White Album by Joan Didion.
Oh shoot!
Isn't that exciting? I was so excited to find this.
That just reminded me that I was reading Bend It Like Beckham. Nope. Slouching Towards Bethlehem.
Oh, I couldn't even get the right word. It's like slumping.
I totally forgot that I was reading that. I forgot
really
I was reading that until this
I'm really
moment.
excited to hear about all the books that you've kind of like left by the wayside. That's something that we always do in our wrap-ups now.
Yep.
How many unfinished books does Ariel have?
At the end of the year wrap-up, we'll all get to hear how many books were fallen soldiers, didn't make it to the end of the road.
But yes, I'm so excited to have this book though, because I feel like something that I'm becoming very interested in is like the 1960s and 70s, like just as a historical time. Like, I'm really excited to read Eve Babbitt's as well, and now I have this book, and I'm like, okay, that's going to be like my exciting little things to read in the new year. I think I feel like I'm like mashed potatoing them because I know that I'm going to really enjoy both of those books. So I've just decided not to read them like before the end of the year. I'm just going to save them for the new year. I don't know why. It's silly.
Yeah, totally.
That's what I'm doing. So It's my story and I'm sticking to it. So, but yeah, those are my two thrift store finds. But then I also got a call from my local used bookstore that they found a book that I had requested a little while ago. And that is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, which is exciting because everybody has been telling me to read T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher. She has a bunch of books, and I never know like which one to start with, but this one seems pretty cool. This one's kind of like fairy tale-esque. It's about a young woman girl. I don't know how old she is, but she is the third born daughter, and her older sister has been married and is married to this like horrible person, and so she takes it upon herself to try and like save her sister, I guess. And so there's a witch. She talks to a witch, and the witch gives her a bunch of tasks she needs to complete, and so it's kind of like just like a fun fairy tale fantasy. I mean, probably not fun. It's probably very dark. Sounds pretty dark, but like the tagline on the back is, "This isn't the kind of fairy tale where the princess marries a prince. It's the one where she kills him."
No.
Yeah. So pretty dramatic, but I've heard so many good things about T. Kingfisher's book, so I feel like this is a good place to start. And it's like fantasy that's not a super long book, which is nice. Like it's pretty short. It's it's not even 300 pages. It's only like 250 pages. Oh, and that's the author's note. Damn. Okay. So that's really excited about that. And then the final book was one that I bought brand new. I actually got a gift card from one of my friends for my birthday, which was a really super nice treat. Was not expecting that at all. And so I was like, oh man, I can finally buy this expensive book that I've been wanting to buy. And that is Penance by Eliza Clark.
Ooh,
so this is like a $40 hardcover. So I was like, it's not going to happen. I'm never going to buy that, even though I want it. And this is the author who wrote Boy Parts, which was one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. Really, really loved that book. And so I immediately was like, I need to read everything that she's ever written. And that was only her first book. So this is her second book. So there's not a lot to read, but I'm really excited about this one. It sounds so dark and grim and interesting, which is my favorite. So it follows it's like a group of girls. There's like 3 girls who are friends, and they set someone on fire. Another young girl, and they kill her. Yeah. Okay. But it's like spooky. And so then this takes it also takes place a decade after the murder happened. And so there's kind of like interviews with a journalist, and like it kind of sounds like it turns into like a true crime, like somebody's like producing this like true crime thing. And so it kind of takes a look at that and like, why are we so obsessed with true crime? But it's also kind of maybe like a coming of age a little bit, because you've got these young girls and like, why did they do it? How did it affect them? And how did it affect like the town that they live in? I think it's kind of all of those things. And so it sounds so good. And
you've got to read that this year, because wouldn't it be cool if you discovered a new favorite author this year and like read more than one book?
That is a really good point. I know. After I finish In Cold Blood, like I don't know what to read, because I don't know if I'm going to jump back into the fantasy book that like before the end of the year. I think I might just put it on hold and try again next year. But that's a fun idea. You're getting me really excited here. You're getting me really hyped. I'm gonna read A Clockwork Orange and Eliza Clark. Those are really fun ideas. You just get so excited about reading. Wow. That's nice.
Do. I have these moments where I'm like, I'm going to read everything.
I know. Good Spirited Away reference. Love that. That was the vibe. Yeah, so I'm really excited about these books I got, as we always are. But like, they're all books that I feel like I could read right now and be very excited about. So that's cool.
That's a very specific type of haul, actually. Sometimes my hauls are like, I'm excited. I obviously wanted to spend my money because I'm excited about the books, but they're not books that I want to read right away, actually.
Yeah. And I was kind of thinking that for
used bookstore stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I was actually thinking that for A Clockwork Orange. Like I was going to say it's like a chipmunk book or acorn book, whatever we're calling it now. But I do feel like it's also something I could just read right now and be very jazzed about.
Well, we did great. Even though we didn't read that much and all we did was buy some books, we did great. You know what? We did great.
We did great. All right, what's out there on the book news scene?
It's time for book news. If we'd sung louder, could we have seen it coming? Prophet Song wins the Booker Prize.
Woohoo!
Written by Irish author Paul Lynch, his book was awarded the Booker Prize, which is about a dystopian future and a totalitarian regime told without paragraph breaks.
Ew, that's
I know, right?
I thought you were going to say quotation marks. And like, that's old hat. We're used to that. But
no paragraph breaks.
that's
apparently,
so
I mean, I haven't read it, but
at.
this is what 2 different articles said. There's no paragraph breaks.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it must
good
really
Lord.
create a certain vibe, where it's like just nonstop.
It sounds really cool, though.
Yeah.
I have heard that it's a little hard to get into because of no paragraph breaks, and I think there's also no quotation marks. But like, it's supposed to be to create this like really claustrophobic, scared vibe in this dystopian thing. But it sounds pretty cool.
It does sound cool. And to bring up our buddy Max of Well Done Books again, he loved that book. So,
well,
yeah,
we should have known.
Yeah,
we should have. Yeah, from now on, if I ever have to like bet on the Booker Prize, I'm just gonna go see which one was Max's favorite.
Yeah, if anybody's interested in book prizes, like Max follows it very closely. So when it's happening, like he reads all the books that are like long listed. It's crazy. He's really, really into it. So it's fun to watch.
That. All right. Forget your fancy clothes. Authors at the Giller Prize ceremony should have brought their picket signs instead.
Whoa.
Do you know about what happened at the Giller Prize ceremony? Oh, it's so wild. The Giller Prize becomes the stage for a protest.
Oh my gosh.
So the Giller Prize happened, and let me recall when it was. I forget, and this article isn't saying it in the first paragraph. Whatever. It was like a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago. And just as they announced the winner of the Giller Prize, which for information in Canada, there's basically 2 big prizes, the Governor General's Literary Award and the Giller Prize. I guess Canada reads, but that one's sort of, it one's a little different. It's because it's like a competition game show. It's a show as well. But Giller Prize is definitely like our most prestigious, fancy one. So they announced the winner. And then a couple of people ran onto the stage with picket signs saying Scotiabank funds genocide because the Giller Prize, isn't this wild? The Giller Prize is sponsored by Scotiabank, and Scotiabank is a giant bank, and banks are terrible. And Scotiabank gives like, I forget what it is, but like hundreds of millions of dollars to like building machine guns or whatever that go to the Middle East. And it's just so horrifying. And it begs one of these fantastic questions, which is like, who is sponsoring these literary prizes that we're saying? Like I just said, it's the most prestigious prize. But do we think about where that money comes from?
Right.
So it really changed. It was definitely the most exciting Giller Prize ever and very, very intriguing. Made us all think about some important and interesting questions. And yeah, I tried to watch a clip of it actually happening, but the Giller Prize seems to have conveniently cut that part from the stream.
Yes. They don't want people
so I couldn't quite find it. But I do want to mention that although I think it's asking some important questions, sadly, like some of the loss of it was that the author that won, her win got kind of overshadowed a little bit. So the author was Sarah Bernstein for her novel Study for Obedience, if anyone's curious about that. All right, on to our next story, Railen. Does anyone know how to say toward eternity in Korean? Translate this! Anton Her, most known as a popular and acclaimed translator of Korean fiction, has his own novel coming out in summer of 2024.
Whoa.
His new book, titled Toward Eternity, asks the question, what does it mean to be human in a world where technology is quickly catching up to biology?
Whoa. That is so interesting.
What did you think of my title?
I love that. I love that. It took me on a journey. I didn't really know what was happening most of the time, but I loved it.
Ray, you've got to look it up. The cover looks so beautiful.
Okay.
First of all, Toward Eternity. And yeah, this is Anton Her's first book of his own, if you know what I mean. Because he is mainly known as a translator. He's translated a lot of really popular Korean books, including, oh God, I just went to his website and the first quote that came up was the Sailor Moon of translation.
What?
I'm obsessed with that. That's so cool.
That is hilarious. Okay,
yeah, he's translated a lot of different.
Wow.
Yes, it's so pretty.
Spooky.
He's translated a lot of different books, including Cursed Bunny. I think that was kind of the most famous one. But also Love in the Big City, I Want to Die, But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong, apparently. I didn't know about that one.
Whoa.
And there's a bunch of others. But yeah, this is his first book.
That sounds so cool. Yeah, on the Goodreads,
wrote.
it says it's negotiating the terrain of Kazuo Ishiguro's Clara and the Sun and Emily St. John Mandel's Sea of Tranquility. So I'm like, yeah, that vibes. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, really cool.
That's really,
I think
that's
we'll
exciting news. Very exciting news.
Yeah, I think we'll both be on the lookout for that one. You know what I don't know? What language he wrote it in.
I was just thinking that.
Did he have to translate it himself?
I think he may have written it in English, but I'm sure he's also probably translated it into Korean so that they could read it in Korea. I would assume. I don't know. That's very interesting, though.
Do you think he wrote it in English?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I think
really
that, but I just
question.
do. I think it's just because I looked at Goodreads and it doesn't say translated by, but why would it? Why would it?
Written and translated by our man. That's cool.
He did it
okay,
all.
Interesting.
It's very cool.
All right. I forgot how. I think this might be my dumbest one.
Okay.
Call up your governor. Call up your generals. The Governor General Awards have been presented.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's award season. It's award
Yeah.
season. So most of the news was awards oriented. But the winners are out, and they are for fiction, Chrysalis by Anuja Varghese or Varghese. For poetry, Xanax Cowboy by Hannah Green. Incredible name for a book.
Sounds very cool.
And then for nonfiction, Unearthing by Keo McClear. I think maybe you remember that. Yeah. I hauled that book, but I love her other book,
Right.
Birds, Art, Life, Death. It's one of my favorite all-time books, so it's cool that her next nonfiction book has also won a prize.
Awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah, there's also some other winners for YA and drama and stuff, but those are all out if people are curious.
Amazing.
All right, my last one. Don't stop your page flipping exercises. The Toronto Public Library is struck with a massive cybersecurity hack, which means you can't access online records.
Shit.
I know. So they got hacked, which is wild because this year Indigo also got hacked.
Why don't people just leave the books alone? Like, come on.
Isn't that crazy? The hackers are coming for the books. All I could take from like all the articles that I was looking at are that, you know, the hackers took some files and stuff. What I can't tell is, did they take books? Like, which could make sense because if you are trying to be illegal, and I really don't think you should do this, and it's horrible, but if you were doing that, like you can find EPUBs and PDFs of a lot of new books. And it's like, how do people get those? I've never thought about it, but maybe this is how. Like, do they hack libraries? I've never thought about that before. Or is it that they were just hacking for people's account data? Because obviously people have accounts with the library. So I'm not sure, but either way, it's bad. And yeah, they've said that this happened back in October, and I didn't even know. But this makes sense. Because I had a weird thing happen with my TPL library card, now that I think about it. So this must be what's happening. They said, I was reading, because if you go to the TPL website, there is no TPL website now.
Oh, no. Yeah.
There's just like a blog from them that explains like what's going on. And it says the Toronto Public Library was the victim of a cybersecurity attack. While library branches remain open, some library services are unavailable. And an example of what's not available is like your online account, public computers, printing anything, digital collections, placing, suspending, or managing holds, and renewing library cards. Brackets, but library cards won't expire during this time.
Yeah, okay.
So you won't lose your library card or anything.
Shoot.
Yeah, so isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, like, what the heck? Why?
I've never heard of a library being cyber attacked.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
And that's like our biggest library. So that's double wild.
Yeah. Uh-oh. I don't like that.
Dark.
I don't like that.
No, it's
news. That's scary news, Ariel. That's scary.
It is a little spooky. Damn it, I should have ended on a different one.
Now I'm scared.
All right. Well, there you go, everyone. That's our little update. That's our little book news. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We're now going to go and record our Patreon mini podcast, Movie Top, where we talk about the movies, the shows, the things we've been watching. I'm going to do a summarization because I finished Scott Pilgrim.
Funny story. So did I.
Oh my God. So we can talk. Okay, we're going to go talk about Scott Pilgrim. And again, reminder that if you click in the link of the YouTube description or whatever podcast player you have, the description in the show notes there, you will find a link to our, not a spreadsheet, survey. The survey. Maybe, Railen, having the camera on us smartens us up because I feel like we've been a little dopey today.
I forgot the word motive live on the podcast. That was crazy.
Anyhow, the survey is linked if you want to do it. It's available there. And thanks so much to everyone for being our listeners and for sharing the pod. Super grateful. Like I said, we're reaching the end of the year, but Railen, I noticed we've passed 7,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, which is wild.
Amazing.
And just feeling super grateful for everyone. So
that's nice.
Hope you all have a nice week. Jam some reading in. Think about your priorities. They're reading. So read more this week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.